and then the adults come along and step on you so you can't do anything. And then you got to spend your life in a grade school prison for about 12 years, and then you got to get some more junk rammed into your head that you'll never use in life. And they overlook your natural tendencies. So I was very quiet in school. I just observed. I was like an alien. Oh, that's how you yell at someone. Oh, that's how you cry. You know, I was like an oddball. But there were other oddballs, too. And all these oddballs grew up to join a mecca where all the oddballs of the world go, like New York or Hollywood. You know, so we all met up there. But I tried to play piano, and somebody closed the lid. I learned to play guitar in 1961, and I had my first band in 1966. And we used to play dances and stuff, and it was just so much fun. And when we broke a string in those days, or you blew up a speaker, I would be so embarrassed. I didn't want to stand there and just look odd, so I would take the microphone and I'd start screwing around on stage. And a lot of times people liked it better than the music, you know. So I had to figure out what's going on here. And I always like to say, you know, I played up until around the time of disco, and I lost my spandex license in '78. And disco put us all out of business. And I took day jobs. I didn't know what to do. I didn't go to college, so I didn't know how to do anything, really. And when I mean day jobs, I mean day jobs. There were some of those stupid jobs I took for a day and had it. You know, U-Haul. U-Haul's hiring. My mom would get on my ass and, you know, you see this U-Haul thing? Yes, the U-Haul thing. Why don't you go down there? And as I go down there, all right, here's your shirt, U-Haul. Someone else's name on it always. And, okay, the first thing, I thought I was going to be parking trailers or moving vans. No, the first thing was to throw a shovel in my hand. It was unload the dirt that someone left in one of those big high-cube trucks, you know. And I went in there and I was just dumping the dirt, and I ain't shoveling dirt, so I split. And you know the old trick of sending your friend to get your paycheck because you get pneumonia or you pleurisy or leprosy. You're too embarrassed to go get it. You don't want to look the guy in the face. And I washed dishes in hospitals, you know, with those machines. But I like those kind of jobs in a way because you could think. Nobody could bother you. You know, I mean, you were just doing stuff that was just like that. And I used to do a lot of thinking in those times, like, you know, what I liked, what I didn't like. You get to know yourself sort of better. And I always loved guitar players and musicians. But I had this other thing going on, which was like noises and voices. And in 79 or 80, I put together some screwy tape. It was a cassette tape. It was fooling around. And I gave it to a friend of mine, and he was installing burglar alarms for the guy that was the morning man on a radio show. And he said, this is my friend, and I gave him a cassette, and the next thing you know, this guy wanted me to come in, and I was going there for nothing, and then I would go to my regular job. But I was learning. I was learning where you start. I mean, you have to go where they need something that you want to do. You can't just go, you know, fish blind. You got to go on radio. Those crazy morning shows always need characters, and they need someone to write the stupid little bits, you know, about Ronald Reagan. You know, and I used to write all kinds of stuff. Learning to write comedy, you know, I would go on the air and I would say to the morning guy, he said, "What's going on?" I said, "I got a Christmas card from Ronald Reagan." And he goes, "Really?" I go, "Yeah," and I know it was him. I know it was him. It's really him. How do you know? It said, "Happy Easter." You know, that kind of junk. Mindless. One for the feeble-minded. But it would grow and it would snowball, and people expected stuff of you. So that blank piece of paper was in the morning that you're trying to write on this guy's way of telling you how hard his job was. And so it just, you were under a little bit of pressure. And then I started getting paid, and I became a producer, and I'd splice tape, and they were reel-to-reel tape recorders back then with oxide tape.
Oh, God, yes, somebody remembers the tape.
Oh, yeah, the grease pencil.
Yeah.
The straight-edge razor blades.
Yeah. And the tape.
Well, there would never be any straight-edge razor blades because the night crew was doing coke all the time.
Get FTCs back
I'd
in
come in the morning and say, what is all this stuff? Hey, that's kind of nice. And then occasionally I'd have to get a soda pop out of the machine and use the tab, to splice tape with. Everything was so organic, you know. You tried to do whatever you could get away with. And I spent some time there, and I was also on drugs, too, from the band days and alcohol, and I was ravaged, but I was still doing work, working in a blackout. I wasn't too proud of that, not at all, because I don't remember much of it, but apparently I didn't do work. It was like work until somebody says, don't come in anymore, and they didn't say that, but they were adamant that I get treatment because I was cracking up cars and getting in trouble in town. I was a bad boy. I mean, it was just, you know, not that I wanted to do that. Not that I wanted to be that, that was the last thing on my mind, but that's where it takes you, and the priority list turns upside down. So they wanted me to get help. I went to a treatment facility for 5 weeks, and I got out of there, and I said, all right, now everybody's going to trust me, you know, and I'll wait a little while, I'll be cool, and then I'll sneak off to Miami and just, you know, snort the entire city. And it never happened. It never happened. I just stayed with that. And so then when I got sober, I started listening to tapes that came in from the big time, from New York, listening to the big dumb announcers and all these people. And I would listen to it, and I said, you know, I gotta try to do those things, because I felt like I could. And that's what gets you going. You hear stuff, and you try to find a way to relate to it, people that are doing what you want to do. And you pick somebody as a role model, just like you would if you idolize a movie star, or you say, I'd like to be like that guy in sports. You know, we had our gallery of heroes, too, and mine were Mel Blanc and Dawes Butler and Don Messick, you know, all of them, and June Foray. And June is still around. She's 90, and she's shorter than I am, which is real short. And she still works, goes to work. She's adorable. And these people were the ones who lived away back in the dark ages. You know, they didn't even get credits sometimes. Their name would never be in the credits because the administrations back then are the same as they are now. So if the cartoon was popular and you never knew who did it, the cartoon would never ask for a raise. You know what I mean? It's like the person would get involved and then they say, now what are we going to do? So they keep it hidden. And then that started to change. And cartoons started to get a little better, and then they went into this ditch where they only mirrored children's immediate realities and didn't take them anywhere. Rainbow Bright and My Little Pony, Strawberry Shortcake, and Pound Puppies, and Little Roseanne. I mean, the Roseanne show was plenty for me, because they had to turn her into a cartoon where she and a little Tom Arnold chased each other around and ate food. Wow. Yeah, but that's all they ever did was, let's go get some food. You know,
I noticed that show didn't last very long.
No, and then there was Hammerman.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh!
The rapper.
I know.
And it's like you begin to say,
It's a Scottish cartoon.
You're right.
Yeah.
You've heard of Scottish play, that's the Scottish cartoon.
Yeah.
Do not mention that.
no, and Hammer, you know, somehow thought he should be a cartoon star, and he finessed his way into it.
That much I can deal with, but the execution, the final product, I would not want hurricanes with it.
Absolutely. Well, that's when, you know, ABC had the children's television. There was a woman named Jenny Trias. And I got involved with John Cristofusi in 1988. I auditioned for a show called Beanie and Cecil, which was a redo of the old cartoons.
Yeah.
It went for 4 episodes, and there was stuff hidden in it, of course. You know, because John Kay, I mean, there was like entrails and crap coming out of them if there was an explosion. You know, and they didn't have freeze frame back then, so you were safe. But somebody caught it, and Jenny Trias was head of children's programming at ABC, and she yanked it. They had this battle royale. And then they were starting to get so politically correct that you couldn't do anything with a cartoon anymore. You couldn't make a fist in a cartoon, because that was considered aggression. Even if somebody was running, their hands had to be open. And they all, no matter what happened, if a building got blown up, everybody in the cartoon had to get back together again and work together to put the building together as the morality play of the cartoon. And that's the spike in the heart of the animated cartoon. You don't make morality plays. You get nowhere with that, unless that's what you want to call it. But if you're going to entertain, you got to go for it. And, you know, and then Ren and Stimpy I auditioned for, and I didn't even know what they were. They showed me pictures of it, and I thought, what are they, microbes? No. It was so abstract, in other words, I didn't get it. Is he a giant mosquito? What is that, some kind of thing? Hey, what do you know?
Oh, wow. That's wonderful.
I hate you. I'm 59.
God forbid I ever lose my voice and I gotta get one of those things.
I have throat cancer.
You know, Ren was, I was originally supposed to do both voices, and I auditioned for both of them, and I guess the Stimpy voice, he was based on Larry from the Three Stooges. He was the one that nobody gave a damn about. I used to look at him and not pay attention to Mo and Curly, where the focus was. I just look at this nut in the corner and just go, you know, chewing up scenery, and the little that he said used to fracture me, and I was like, hey, Mo, you put too much tinsel in the tree. What is that voice? It's so inert, it's so nothing. But to find something there is like, you know, strip mining for comedy.
Right.
But once you find a hook or something to grab onto, so he was amped up. He couldn't have Snippy sound like a depressed old Jewish guy. So we put him in the cartoon universe, you know, hey, Ren, I picked the magic nose goblin. Greenpeace. Sorry for that. And I eventually, you know, originally I was auditioning for Ren. I was given tapes from John of what he wanted me to do to the character, and I didn't wind up doing it. But it was like Peter Lorre, and there was like Kirk Douglas hidden in there. Peter Lorre was that sneaky, quiet, you know, frightening, simple, like
Greasy.
yeah,
Bug-eyed.
yeah, but it'd be like in the German expression, using those old Fritz Lang things and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he'd be like, I'd like a couple of hamburgers, please. And make them wrong.
Yeah, I heard an interview with him once. They said that he never really acted. He just made faces at the camera.
Right.
Yeah. And he was German. I couldn't figure out what he was, but
Yeah.
you know, he was so mind-boggling you didn't think about his ethnicity.
Right.
But anyway, when he screamed, it was manic, and his veins would bulge out. And so the Ren character had that, and he had Kirk Douglas like in Crime Story. Hey, Ren! And then Burl Ives, a little bit of that hidden in there, the folk singer from the old days. And you know, there was a amalgam of things. We south of the border, so we had an accent. You know, hey, Ren, you got me. Shut up, fool! Scare you! No, sack of protoplasm! And that's, he's the quintessential a-hole. You know, he had Jackie Gleason in him and all these other people. And it was delightful. Rage is a beautiful vehicle for comedy or whatever. And then I did that, and John left the show, he got fired. So they were looking for someone to do the voice. I wound up doing both of them as planned originally. And then I left that, and I auditioned for Matt Groening to do Futurama, and you know, that's kind of how I got going. But I never much had tapes. Because you go into a voice booth in a recording studio, and you're leaning up against stuff, and you look at your hand, and it's black with dust, and you go, what are these audition tapes? You know, so you gotta go somewhere and hand it to somebody. You can't.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's possible, you can send tapes. Now it's CDs, right?
Yeah.
I know. How much are papers now? How much are newspapers? I've been away for a while. But that's, you know, how I got going. And we can talk about the Futurama stuff in a bit, but I wanted to turn it back over to my colleague.
Yeah, it's crazy, this business is. It can happen from a million different directions. You never know who you're going to be talking to. You know, when I got the job on Starblazers, I was working in the front office of an acting school called West Barron. It's in New York City. It's on 35th Street. It's still on 35th. Anyway, they could have, you know, outgrown their facility anyway. But I was answering the phone, doing filing, just general office clerical type stuff. And the casting director for Starblazers called the school looking for non-union voice artists to come and audition for this new animated show. And she spoke with Bob Barrett, who was one of the owners of the school, and he came around sort of canvassing all of us, and he didn't even get the words out of his mouth. Does anybody want to audition? I said, yes, me, I do, yes, where, when? and that's how Starblazers happened. So, you know, it's bizarre.
What was the special thing that got you that, though? You had to get a hold of something.
I really don't know. I really
Did they
don't
tell you what they
probably-
liked about you?
Probably it
She
was
looked
the
physically
fact.
like the character.
I mean,
But I
that
still
was
have
the
to
reason.
That's what they were going for,
It's
though.
probably because I didn't sound cartoony.
Oh, I
Okay,
Yeah, she
they
played-
wanted
played straight.
the English dub to be totally different than the Japanese. They didn't want us to try and imitate the Japanese PAs. They wanted a totally different sound, and I just sounded the most different, I guess. You know, it sounded like a real person and not a cartoon. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with cartoon characters, you know, because there are a million great voice artists out there who do wonderful characters. But this one, they wanted to be real people, sounding like real people, and it worked.
My start was here, as I explained. Essentially, what they held that year was something called a voice acting anime dub panel. And what dubbing is it's when you put an English voice and you sync it up with the cartoon characters, which is a little difficult in itself. What they had was a room just like this and a big screen, and they had the M&E, which is the music and effects track, and they had microphones lined up. Well, if there's a room with a microphone in it, I'm usually on it. I've got to get down there.
I'm not here to cackle.
And so, you know, they said to the audience, you know, who wants to do this? And everybody's like, me. I'm like, over here! Hey! Bring me down there! And I did. And I went down. And I don't remember what I did that day. I remember there was a cat girl on the screen, and so I was kind of like, meow, you know, like I wanted to do that, but there wasn't, my character wasn't the cat girl, but it still sounded cartoony and fun, and I synced up pretty good without having, you know, any audio cues or anything like that. Amy was there that day and said, you were really good. I stayed for a Q&A afterwards, and see, she said, you were great. And I believe her, because she's the mother of us all. I mean, Star Blazers is huge, it's still going in different countries and languages and blah. This was one of the first animes to be brought over here. So believe me, you know, I listen to her. So, you know, and Jessica Calvello.
I'll never steer you wrong.
Yeah, and she won't. And Jessica Calvello, who was Cutie Honey, was up there, and she also compliments me, says, I got some nerve. And I'd done a little radio before, and I'd done stage work, and I'd done singing, and I'd done all this other stuff. So I said to my friend, I have to go talk to that man. And my friend said, you should definitely talk to that man. So I stood up, and I walked up to Mr. Jeff Thompson, stuck out my hand, and said, my name is Kristen Nelson, and I've done radio in the past, and I'm a trained singer, and I really think I could do this. And he said, I've got an audition in 2 weeks. And from there, I got my first job in Boogie Pop Phantom, which has played since on the Anime Network, and I've loved every minute of everything I've done for voice work and talent ever since. It's been amazing. So with confidence, with professionalism, I mean, you can't go, oh, I really like Spanish, oh my God, you know, you can't do that to somebody. You can't just show up in a costume and say, hey, you know, that, you know, as wonderful as that is, and as much fun as I want all of you to have at the con and everything. If you really want to do this, you have to present yourself as somebody who's on the level, who's done a little something before, and had something to contribute. And definitely, you know, he kind of just took a look and said, all right, I'll give you a shot, I'll give you that shot. And from there, after that, they liked me. I did the next role, I did Carcano, which is like, they had me doing everything from babies to old grandmommies to, you know, schoolgirls and welcome to our store, you know, kind of thing. You know, and it's all those little bitty roles, but in the end, I'm like, if I watch Carcano, I'm like, there I am. There I am again. There I am again. You know, like, so, you know, that was, there's 2 weeks in that show, so, but, you know, after that, haven't worked in a little while. Mr. Thompson has passed away, and God rest him. And you know, recently, someone who made me a sandwich at a convention and became my friend had a friend who scored a contract with Nintendo, and now I just landed the lead role in Stark. And it hasn't come out. You haven't heard about it yet. It's in development. and they're going to put this out soon. It's going to be great. It's a fighting game. It's going to be really exciting. It's going to spoof other fighting games. It's going to do what a lot of the Bugs Bunny cartoons did, was break the fourth wall. You know, like remember like those ones where they erased Daffy, you know, and then they threw him back to the flowers. Like that. Well, that kind of fighting game, you can do that to your opponent, kind of thing. So it'll be fun. But it hasn't come out yet. You know, can't say too much. You know, like
Just keep it between the 500 of us.
yeah. I hope I haven't given away too much, but there's a lot more to it.
I can't wait to see it.
It's going to be really fun.
That's going to be cool.
And
I get to pretend to be you beating up on people.
yeah. But I've got to say, like a lot of what you did say does resonate exactly with my experience, because I was always the crazy kid in the class. I was always the first one on stage, last one to leave it, and always just riffing and doing fun voices just for my friends, just to get laughs, just to get kicks. And I was always out there. Nobody quite got any of that, you know, except for my close friends, of course. And when I went to radio, there were a lot of folks that discouraged me. They said, "You'll never work in animation." Well, yeah, no.
How did they know?
No, don't you love it how somebody inserts himself in your life and predicts your...
Yeah.
predicts your
You'll never work in animation.
It's only because they wish they had the guts to try it like you.
That's right.
Okay? So
Exactly.
ignore them.
Yeah.
Ignore them. They're frustrated wannabes who will never have the nerve that you guys have.
You know what, that goes for everything in life, is whenever you go and you want something really bad, don't ever play it small.
Amen.
Not for somebody else's benefit, just to, you know, you're afraid these people aren't very good. It's like, I can throw them all away, so I'm going to play it small. No,
Yeah.
you don't do any service to the universe. And plus, you might inspire somebody else.
That's right.
If you want to build flying saucers and use them to deliver pizzas, do it.
Absolutely.
You got to have a realistic dream.
Realism, schmealism, half life. One of my favorite quotes is from the Avatar: The Last Airbender. There was a commentary track from the sound director, and he was describing how they make a lot of the Foley, the sound effects, especially for the fire bending. They just sit there with the microphone and go, making noises with their throat. And he was saying, okay, kids, if anybody tells you you're never going to make money making funny noises, I'm here to tell you they're wrong. So it's, you know, go for it.
Yeah, give it a try. There's nothing worse than saying, God, I wish I had done that.
It goes for anything.
It really does.
What we're saying as voiceover people, our world is a sonic world. It's theater of the mind. There's no visuals that you can perceive that you're going to be dealing with until it's visual, but you didn't see it. You created the sonic track.
That's right.
And radio was especially great training ground for that.
Yeah.
Because you are what you say you are. You know?
That's right. That's right.
I'm an alcoholic nun. You know, and people picture this thing in their mind if you have the right voice.
Right.
You know, in radio drama, you're right, there's nothing there. And, you know, in animation, we have a little bit of a luxury when we do see those characters on the screen, and we kind of get a sense. And you can do that, but you always have to remember to be ready to change it at the drop of a hat. Because if the director doesn't like your concept of what that looks like, you're going to have to change it up like this. And that's exactly what happened during Boogie Pop for me. I was like, if you watch the sub of that, the Japanese character is all over the place and crazy, you know, in episode 4. And they wanted super sexy from me instead. And so I did that instead. And so it's like you got to be willing to just change when they sing. And you have to be able to roll with that directorial punch.
And it helps if you can escape your physical voice to play other characters.
Yeah.
Because some people just, there's no going anywhere else. They just have a wacky little voice.
Yeah.
But if you want to work, you got to be able to bend in the wind, you know. You got to be able to do these high-pitched generalist voices, or these, you know, big dumb announcer voices, or characters within. And voices come from everywhere. There's these voices that come like from up in here, and then here, and then here, and down here.
Right.
I'm not going to go any lower.
We need Nick for that right now.
That's what Tom did if you come in.
They told me that to work in animation as a woman, you're going to have to be able to do a little boy voice.
And if I want to, I really can talk like a guy. You know, I can do those voices. So I can also go up here, you know, like, and everywhere in between. You can go, you know, and that's the singing training, folks. That's a lot of, you know, everything that I learned through those mama-mimo moves, okay? They have you doing all those warm-up exercises in your choir. Don't ignore what you sound like during those warm-up exercises, because you might just be pulling it out of your behind somewhere else, and the director says, a little bit higher, you know, or a little bit lower, or a little bit in between. So, yeah, it takes exactly that. You have
Also, finding voices. People go, how do you just find some crazy thing that's not you?
Oh, yeah.
And I found that most people can relate to it on this level. If you can make any kind of a noise, it can be made into a voice.
Absolutely.
Like if I just went, you know, like that, it can become a character.
Yes.
Or if you do a lousy impression of someone, it's valid because once it's recorded, it's a voice no one's ever heard before.
That's right. That's right. And I think one of the worst kind of roadblocks that people put up in front of themselves is, oh, I'll never be Mel Blanc. I'll never be Jude Foray. Of course you won't. Jude Foray is Jude Foray. We love her dearly. I grew up on Rocky and Bullwinkle and Betty Rubble and, you know, all of her good stuff. I'm sorry, she didn't do Betty Rubble. But if everybody were June Foray, we'd be up to our butts in June Forays. And nobody would get work. Because everybody sounded like everybody else and it'd be boring.
But I'd like it.
Yeah. But, you know, so when we hear June Foray, it's, oh, that's June Foray.
Yes.
You know, and when we hear Billy West, that's Billy West. You know, it's so cool to hear all this different sound. You know, so don't try to be anybody else than who you are. Because you know, we may be sitting up here on a panel with you one day and say, hey, this is Tim Johnson here. And everybody's going to say, wow, you know, I love your stuff.
There's a couple of challenges that are in the way. There's a trend where they need celebrities to do everything. And the thing is that it's so nearsighted and myopic because once the celebrity isn't famous anymore, that voice isn't going to be worth jack shit. They might as well throw away half the character that they created. You don't want to hear like a celebrity doing their own voice for a cartoon because most kids don't care. You know, they don't. And adults that I know certainly don't care. But they think that's what puts asses in the seats. No, good solid characters do. They spend $1 zillion in visuals, and they have these flatlining soundtracks, you know. Like Cameron Diaz doing a voice, and why don't they just call my cousin, my sister, you know?
No, the big name actor can in fact do the job.
Right.
That's one
But
thing.
there are big actors that understand doing characters like Robin Williams and Eddie Murphy and Mike Myers. They understand characters.
Right.
But the other people, it's like, you know, I'm Will Smith, I'm a pilot. I'm Will Smith, I'm on the run from dead bodies. I'm Will Smith, I'm a palm tree. I'm Will Smith, I'm a fish.
Yeah.
I am Will Smith.
He's a delightful guy, you know.
Delightful. But they're out of their depths. It's like sending a bunch of highly skilled plumbers to win the World Series for you.
Interesting analogy.
What happened to specialists?
Yeah.
But I'm not griping that much. I mean, yeah, I have a hard time getting in those movies, but you don't want to have to become a celebrity. You got to create something very special in and of yourself.
That's
Find
right.
the other people that are doing the same thing. And I'm so lucky. My peers. It's unbelievable to walk into a room full of geniuses in the morning. It's like the same tide raises all boats. If you're not firing on all cylinders, you get a look at a couple of people and you go, I'm there.
What a great, I gotta write that down. Same tide raises all boats. That's brilliant. I mean, it's noteworthy. Absolutely.
You lift everybody up.
Such a good, yes, absolutely.
Has anybody ever auditioned for anything? Have you?
Yeah, good. Do you know what a nerve-wracking experience that could be?
But you know what? It's only nerve-wracking because you keep sitting in the outer office with these other people. And
Right.
Something we're working on you. It sucks. It sucks.
Yeah.
Just pull you out.
Suck you out. Yeah, exactly.
But the guy that keeps coming out of the door and go next, he's not the guy that's holding you back from entering the show business.
Right.
You can't think of him that bad. Every time that guy opens the door, he's praying that you're the guy.
Yeah.
Because they want to get it over with, too. You know what I mean? So if you look at it like that, this guy's praying that it's you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're
And even the guy who's just sitting there doesn't even look at you. Next.
But he's nice.
He doesn't hate you.
No.
He's not trying to get rid of you because he hates you on sight. He doesn't know you.
Right.
Right.
He just has 500 people to get
In
through.
other words, that eliminates the self-consciousness of going in there and trying to measure up and be judged and all that.
That's
It's really
good.
not about that.
That's
a destroyer. That's a soul killer.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think one of the jobs that I had on the road to today was as a receptionist in a casting agency. So I would see all of the actors and actresses coming in and just hoping they'd look nice and not a hair out of place, and everybody's, hello, nice to meet you, hello, thanks for coming, hello. And so it was sort of the seeing things from the other side of the fence. And it was a real educational experience. It really, really was.
Just bring fire wherever you go, whatever you do. Don't play it small.
That's right.
Don't be the one that's like, I hope they don't call on me, because you're out there to let it fly.
Yeah, exactly.
Should we start a Q&A or something?
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Do we have a moderator? Do we have a moderator?
Yeah.
You want that?
Generate my own EM field. Okay, so my question is, when creating a demo, what would you recommend adding to it?
I would say, number one on your demo is stuff that you've done. If there's nothing that you've done, don't feel bad about this. Every one of us had to have that very first job. So if you've never done anything, I would say pick. What I did with the bulk of my demo was pick voices that I could do, not only that I could do well, but that I could sustain for long periods of time. If you're screaming and whatnot, and you've got a 9-hour session ahead of you, chances are you're going to tear your throat out. So, number one was on my demo is a clip from Star Blazers. Number two is the Captain Tyler OVA. And the rest of it, I've got about a half a dozen voices. I got a New York cab driver. I got a, the June Cleaver mom. And, and just things, and I wrote little scripts. What would someone with this kind of a voice say? And I just did it like that. And my demo, just in case you're thinking you have to spend $1 billion in a big New York recording studio, my demo was recorded in Kristen Freeman's Coke. Anybody who knows Kristen Freeman, he was
Captain Tyler.
Captain Tyler, Hallison Selgadas on Players. Helsing. You name it, he's done it. So he and I became friends from conventions and what have you. Come on over. He had a Mac in his living room. He had the wire running across the floor. He padded his coat closet. I sat in there with my little script and my microphone and a little music stand, and I recorded my demo. And I promise you, it did not cost $1 million.
That was to get a job.
Yes.
In show business, but the other part of it is you've got to put together a tape for an agent to find out the guy or the woman to get an idea if you can put any money in anybody's pocket.
Right.
Meanwhile, your job as a voiceover basically is to sell product. You're more of a salesman. You're the voice of some serial character. You want those shelves to clear, and it has a lot to do with how you present it. Are you charming or whatever it is that makes people buy stuff?
Right.
But you have to think about those. But the other demo is they make it easier for you now. You go to a recording studio and they will provide you with copy that you can read, straight stuff like a commercial product, and they'll put music to it. It'll sound like you had work. And then they'll put silly music to silly voices. As long as you've got it, exactly what you're going to do. And that you can take to an agent. And there's agents all over the place nowadays.
Right.
Because there's this huge influx of people that are really creative. And I encourage it. Let's go for everybody. Look at the internet.
Absolutely.
All of this programming and the marriage of the television set and the internet. Television doesn't have the people that watch the internet. Television is being abandoned. What goes on YouTube is a wet dream of television. It was 9 hours sitting there.
Oh, yeah.
And so they're going to get together, and there's always a voracious need for electronic programming and voices. Because they've got computers that can do samples and talk, but it's like,
you know. But that's the way to kind of get in, is you go to a recording studio, and they'll guide you.
By the way, I am a third order Carmelite nun, so thank you for the reference to the nun. What would you recommend? I've done commercials, I've done all kinds of things. Started out, what can you do as a third order Carmelite nun?
Were you ever cloistered?
It depends on what you call cloistered.
Cloistered is hiding behind that dark curtain?
Yeah, I know.
Did you dig that or no? No. My aunt was one of those.
Was she a Carmelite?
I think so. She was.
How did you get, you said you did commercials? How did you get those commercials?
InMyLife.com, the producer of the Broadway show.
I'm sorry, speak a little bit louder.
I used to, the producer of In My Life musical on Broadway,
Okay.
just like me, pulled me out, put me in front of camera.
Awesome.
That's great. That's a happy accident.
Yeah.
Hey, those happen too.
Any way is a way. You just got to bring the goods whenever you get in, however you get in.
Where you go from there, I don't know.
Just get representation. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter if you're a nun.
Yeah, do you want to do commercials? Do you want to do anime? Do you have a specific thing in mind?
Or do you just want work?
Okay, I was a teacher, name, I broke down here, Boy Scouts in the Olympics, I've done everything. I have filled every niche in terms of voice, children's stories,
Right.
library, and the content. That's enough.
That's a Renaissance thing.
Yeah, because I mean, you know, with anime, you know, that's what, with the medium with which we are most familiar, you really have to live where the productions are done. If you know, you get a whole series, what they call in the can, which is ready to put on the air, and half of it gets deleted, they're not going to, you know, fly you out to the coast so you can redo all your dialogue. You have to live within a reasonable distance of where it's done. Where we live in Virginia, there is none. So that necessitated me finding alternative ways of getting work. So I put a studio together. Now I record. I've got a client in Australia, one in Japan, hopefully one in France. But you know, you have to you have to roll with it. Wherever you are, start from wherever you are. If there's a community theater in your area, if you can take classes, you know, whether it's professional acting school or, you know, a drama course maybe at a community college, intern at a radio station. There are endless possibilities. If you want to pursue anime, here again, it's our sort of area of expertise. If you live in a place like New York or Los Angeles or you know, one of the bigger cities, you contact the companies. When are you holding auditions? What are your procedures? If you know nothing's happening now, may I send you a demo? And do what they tell you. If it's yes, sure, send us a demo and a resume, you know, and then follow up in a couple of months. Do that.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter where you came from. I mean, you mentioned the Carmelite nun thing. No one's ever going to go, what do you like better? What do you like better, Jesus or money?
Right.
It's not going to be like that.
Right.
Unless it's just for trivia's sake.
I'll look at every time, okay? I will.
When it comes to extra work, I mean, I was told, I've always went by the idea that it doesn't matter what you're doing. It's your craft. If it's a mall, you're the guy talking on a mall, at a Walmart or a Kmart, or you're in an anime or movie or whatever, as long as you're working. And
Voice work is voice work.
exactly.
Yeah.
You come in as a journeyman, no matter what it is. You build a staircase that day, bring the right stuff. You build, you know, the Sonic Temple. You know, it's all about, you don't always get the edgy, cool job. I mean, to me, working is working. I have an immigrant mentality, you know. It's like, I come from that, I had Depression era parents and uncles, and, you know, and they say, you had a chance to work 18 hours a day and you didn't take it, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, as long as it's honest work,
Yeah,
roll with it.
I don't turn much down unless I know it's going to be bad for me in some way. But I audition. If you want to work, you got to audition. I audition all the time for stuff.
Yeah.
Is there a lot of auditions around the New York City area and such? Or is it mostly
In the city, it's teeming with activity.
Right.
Tons of recording studios, tons of directors, performers, and projects.
Yeah, the Rockwell,
George Love.
George Love.
George Love.
The gentleman who does Space Ghost Coast to Coast. He's also the voice of the tram at Hartsfield Airport.
Yeah, the Martin.
And it's honest work. You got paid for it. So there's, what's wrong with that?
And sometimes you get residuals, it depends on what kind of product. If it keeps rolling on television, you keep getting paid for something you did 10 years ago. And my uncle, I try to explain, well, not my uncle, my mom's boyfriend, I try to explain, he always asks me, so what's going on in show business? Like, I know. I said, Walter, I'm barely in it. And he goes, no, what's your favorite part of that job? Do you like the people you work with? Is it the hours? Is it, what's your favorite part? And I said, the best part is, I try to relate it to him. He was a superintendent of maintenance at the fire department when he was working. I said, imagine, Walter, if you went down to your mailbox, in your robe and slippers and your coffee, and it was a check for a fire you fought in 1978. It's still out. You did a good job. You don't get residual. And he gotcha.
This young lady's had her hand up in the pretty green.
This is a question from Billy West. I'd just like to know how you feel about Futurama coming back, because a lot of the fans were terribly excited about it.
Woo! I couldn't be happier. Even if I had nothing to do with that show, I would have been in love with it because of the writing. You've got the same guys that wrote The Simpsons, basically, working in the next room. And, it doesn't get better than that, and I think the show is so incredible. It's my favorite one that I've ever done, and I'm very lucky. Like I said, I've come from a place of entitlement. I felt really lucky to be given those parts, and I continue to just, whenever they say, we're doing a movie, we're doing a trailer, whatever it is, a game, a video game, everything's part of that craft. And, like we're all saying, work is work.
So just out of curiosity, when is it going to be available?
The next DVD is coming out in July, and it's called The Beast with a Billion Backs. And Fry starts his own church. Well, it's a good way to start.
One more question. How do you guys practice and how long?
When do you practice and how long?
I practice a little bit every day. I'm actually on the phone all day long at my particular day job. I'm a customer service representative. So when somebody starts to talk to me in a funky accent, I have a tendency to talk back to them the same way. I'll try.
Afraid they're not thinking she's making fun of them.
But it's more of a straight read most of the time. Basically, like, thank you for calling our company. My name is Kristen Nelson. I'll be happy to speak with you. What can I do for you today? Kind of thing. And I just. Sorry, what?
No.
AT&T? No, I can't tell you, but I will tell you.
Big problem.
Start with a 900
Yeah, they don't like that very much. But it does, for sure. But we sell car insurance, put it to you that way. So anyway, we're not going to go there. Basically, I do a little of that every day, and of course, like when I'm singing, and I'm singing in the car on the way to work, from work, if I get nothing else in, I do that.
Yeah.
And when I'm on the way to an audition, my favorite thing to do is to pop in a bunch of songs and just sing them, but with different voices.
Yeah.
Like, They Might Be Giants. Any fans? I'm your only friend, I'm not your only friend, but I'm a little the loving friend, but really I'm not actually your friend, but I am. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's marry in the Alabama switch. Come on, since I'll bring you. We go over there, have a miracle, etc.
Wow.
It me up, makes me happy, and
You do it out of the sheer joy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's why whales jump out of the ocean and go, why do they do that? Because they're happy.
It's a thing to do.
Yeah.
It's true.
It's being, using your voice every day, using it correctly, not doing anything deliberately that may damage this is going to be your livelihood. You want to take care of it. I smoked for 24 years. I know how difficult it can be to quit. But when I finally did, it was because I wanted to. You know, and I'm not about to lecture anybody who smokes. You know, you gotta quit smoking. You know, it'll happen when you decide that it's supposed to happen. You know, I like my, you know, glasses of wine in the evening and whatnot, so, you know, there's a little bit of abuse going on, but moderation is the key. Moderation.
Back to where we started.
So, you know, just take care of it, and it will take care of it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, everybody.